Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, November 14th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 659 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today is the day after another tough New York Jets loss as they fell to the New England Patriots last night, 27-14 to fall to 2-8 on the season, drop to 1-3 on the road. And the New England Patriots pick up their 9th win of the year, now 9-2 on the season, led by Mike Vrabel and Drake May. 8 straight wins, hottest team in the NFL, 4-2 at home, guaranteed a winning season. And the Jets are still in the basement. The Jets are still struggling. And here we are again in the middle of another lost season. So frustrating, so disappointing on so many levels. And last night was disappointing in a lot of areas. Coming off 2 straight wins, you wanted to see some certain things last night. There were some things that were okay and were positive, and you've kind of seen some of these things moving forward as we've gotten more into the season, but a lot to take away from last night that wasn't very good, and a lot to take away last night specifically from the quarterback play. That's been more of the same, and it's unacceptable, and a change needs to be made. So as we always do here on these day after episodes, kind of sleep on it, get some more time to digest it, give you some more of my day after takeaways offensively, defensively. We'll take a look at a lot of different things from last night's game, last night's loss. But you have to start with the quarterback. I mean, what else more is there to say here for this quarterback? What else needs to be said for this quarterback? There's no more defending Justin Fields. And I want to give you some numbers here in a second, but I want to just talk about a couple different things before we dive into exactly what took place last night, the struggles last night, the struggles all season, and all of those different things. And moving forward, what needs to be done, which we all know what needs to be done, and that is Tyrod Taylor needs to be under center when the New York Jets take on the Baltimore Ravens next week. And you have extra time to prepare. You have extra time to make that decision. You can sort of understand why the Jets still rolled Justin Fields out there last night, right? You won 2 straight games. It was a short week, all of those different things. You've got extra time now. It was another week of Justin Fields in this offense not doing enough things well. It was another week of Justin Fields really holding this offense back. You have to make a change. But a couple things that I just want to get off my chest. Number one, from the Aaron Glenn perspective. And listen, I think that there are some positive signs from Aaron Glenn as the season has gone on. Specifically these last couple of weeks. I think the fact that the New York Jets didn't get blown out last night shows something about Aaron Glenn, because as much as it's a very small thing, this was a team that week 2 against the Buffalo Bills got blown out by 20. The New York Jets did not get embarrassed last night. This team is still playing hard. This team, he still has this locker room, if that makes sense. It's a small thing, and the wins aren't there consistently. But with this roster and the way things are at this point in the season, it's going to be tough for the New York Jets to win many more games. We all know that. But from Aaron Glenn's standpoint, the stuff that I don't like is the loyalty to Justin Fields. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. They didn't draft him. They didn't trade for him and give up a premium draft pick. It's not like the New York Jets went out and traded for Justin Fields and gave up a first-round pick, and they're continuing to roll him out there trying to justify it, trying to hope that one day he breaks out. Right? That was the whole thing with Joe Douglas. Why he continued to roll Zach Wilson out there was because he invested a number 2 overall pick in him. And that was the guy that they felt was going to turn it around. He was trying to prove that he didn't make a mistake, continuing to roll him out there, hoping that he would find a rhythm, hoping that he would show something. He never did. And we all know how the rest of the Joe Douglas era went. He was chasing that mistake his entire tenure here. That's not the case with Aaron Glenn. Justin Fields is the definition of a bridge quarterback. They have no loyalty to him. This is a player who is now on his 3rd team in 5 years. 3 years in Chicago, didn't work out. 1 year in Pittsburgh, didn't work out. Now comes to the Jets. I get you gave him $30 million guaranteed and a 2-year deal, and you essentially handed him the starting job, but you have no loyalty to him. We all know, you don't have to be very smart to know he's not the guy. And it's not a hard concept to grasp. And it shouldn't be so difficult for this team to just bench him and not have him under center anymore. It shouldn't be so difficult. It shouldn't be that he was still out there last night in the second half. Tyrod Taylor's in that game. I'm not saying the New York Jets go out there and win, but they probably have at least one more touchdown on the board. Tyrod Taylor probably doesn't fumble that snap. And I don't want to hear, oh, it was a low snap. That's not Justin Fields' fault. I get it was a low snap, but all Fields has to do is just jump on it. Any quarterback just jumps on that football. Instead, he tries to pick it up. He's playing hot potato with the football, and they lose it, and that was it. That was the game. Right there. Unacceptable play. Can't happen. Costly turnover, 4th quarter, late in the game, inexcusable. Who knows what would have happened that drive, but the least you could do is just jump on the fumble and give yourself, live to fight another day. Put yourself in a position where you can try and find a way to muster up, assuming they probably would have lost 3 to 4 yards in the play, 13 to 14 yards over the next 2 plays, as opposed to giving New England the football where they were going to at least get 3 points, which they ultimately came away with 3. You have no loyalty to him. They didn't draft him. They didn't make this crazy trade for him. Pittsburgh didn't bring him back, obviously didn't see enough in him. Chicago got rid of him, obviously didn't see enough in him. It's year 5. Nothing's going to change. It's 53 starts into Justin Fields' career that we have seen this play from him. And in a lot of ways, it's gotten worse this season. And that's my next point. They don't trust him. It's clear they don't trust him. And we've seen that a lot throughout the season. Last night, couple examples of that again, where they don't trust him to throw the football in certain spots. And might be the most frustrating part of it all. And this falls on Aaron Glenn, and this falls on the coaching staff. Why is he out there if you do not trust him? Why is he out there if he can't make the necessary throws to operate this offense? And why do you keep rolling him out there? If you don't trust him, Tyrod Taylor should be under center. No other way to put it. And I also want to put this out there as well. There is still some amongst the fan base and across the NFL. It's not just a portion of Jet fans, but there is this portion of NFL media, NFL fans, that Justin Fields can do no wrong. It's okay to admit a player is a bad football player. And I want to make this clear. Justin Fields seems like a very good guy. Seems like a very good person. Players talk very highly of him, the way he carries himself, the way he is as a teammate. And we all wanted to see Justin Fields do well. If Justin Fields is out there against Baltimore, we're all going to be rooting for him. We all want to root for him because if Justin Fields, we are all rooting for him because if Justin Fields does well, then the Jets do well. They have a better chance of winning. That's just common sense. We all want to see him do well, but it's okay to admit that he's not a good football player. It's okay to admit that he's not the future. It's okay to admit that he's at fault for a lot of these deficiencies that the Jets have had on offense. The blind defense of Justin Fields makes no sense. It reminds me a lot of the blind defense that there was about Zach Wilson. It was everybody except Zach Wilson's fault. And now we're in the same situation with Justin Fields. It's everybody except Justin Fields' fault. I don't know about that because here we are. He's been on 3 different teams right now, and he hasn't found success in any of those 3 teams. So is it really the teams that are the problem, or is it Justin Fields who continues to move around teams because he's not good enough in these certain spots? And even that, I'm probably reading too much into it. You watch him play, he's not any good. It's okay to admit he's not a good quarterback. And I want to make it clear, I was on board with Justin Fields. I didn't want Rodgers back. I was happy they moved on from Rodgers. And I said my top option after moving on from Rodgers, the realistic top option, was Justin Fields because he was young. There was traits there when you talk about his athleticism that you really like. And the hope was, best case scenario, you find your long-term fit. He's your Sam Darnold, your Baker Mayfield type of player, right? Worst case scenario, he doesn't work out and you're drafting a quarterback in 2026. Well, the reality is, Jet fans, it's the worst case scenario. He's not any good. They're drafting a quarterback in 2026. They need to draft a quarterback in 2026. I don't know why that's so hard to grasp for some people. Instead, it's finger pointing at everybody else, not the quarterback. It's never the quarterback's fault. It's everybody else's fault. And don't get me wrong, there were some drops, right? A.D. Mitchell's got to catch that ball. It was a good ball from Justin Fields. He's got to catch that deep ball on 3rd down. That was terrible. But how about the miss that Justin Fields then had to A.D. Mitchell in the end zone? Threw it about 10 yards short of where that ball should have been. Only 10 yards short, right? It's not the major, only 10 yards. The other miss he had to A.D. Mitchell on the left sideline. The processing of Justin Fields. Guys running wide open again. He doesn't throw. Or guy is open and he sees him, but he takes a second too long to realize and process what he's seeing. And by the time he throws it, it's either covered up or it's just too late. That's the issue with Justin Fields. Slow processing. We all know what he can do with his legs, but from a passing standpoint, he is one of the worst in the NFL. And there's no other way to put it. And the message to Aaron Glenn is make a change. Make a change. No loyalty to him. Make a change. It didn't work out. He's not your future. He's not your guy. Make a change. And to the portion of the fan base and to some around the NFL media, because I've already seen, not even NFL media, just NFL world, everybody. I've seen people on Twitter already looking at Fields' stats. He's not the problem again. You obviously don't watch the games. Maybe some of it's just clickbait, but it's clear that most people don't watch the games. You watch the games and you can't tell me. Watch the games and come back and tell me that Justin Fields is a good quarterback. I'd like to see your reasoning on that. To give you some numbers, the Jets are averaging a league low. I think this is a really telling stat among just the Justin Fields problem, and that it's not the offense, Tanner Engstrand, everybody else's fault. It's Justin Fields. The Jets are averaging a league low 139.9 passing yards per game. That would be the lowest in the NFL since 2022. That 2022 team was the Chicago Bears when they averaged 130.5 pass yards per game. Who was the quarterback of that 2022 Bears team, you might ask? Justin Fields. His negative 0.210 EPA per play is the lowest of any qualified quarterback this season, and that's filtering out garbage time. And I think that needs to be more of an emphasis on the whole Justin Fields conversation as well. Let's stop pretending like some of these games that he had, some of these late performances that he had against Dallas, even to a certain extent against Miami. Let's stop pretending, specifically the Dallas game, though, because that was his most yards he threw in a game this year and the most completions he had in a game this year. The only time he's hit over 30 completions in a game this season. The team was down 30-6 when they started to march down the field. 24 points in the fourth quarter. That's garbage time. The game was over. The defense was playing backed off, more of prevent style, keeping everything in front of him, and Fields was able to dink and dunk his way down the field and just rack up yards. Take away that, and he's been terrible. And by the way, what about the opportunity he had in a couple? Give him credit for the Bengals game, albeit a terrible defense. But he also had a chance against Carolina. He had a chance against Denver late in those games. Couldn't get it done. So let's stop this notion of, he's a second half, fourth quarter quarterback. He had a chance last night. Furthermore, proves the garbage time point, which is more of a conversation that was happening earlier in the year. But just when you talk about some of the numbers, some of them are inflated because of garbage time. You take away the garbage time stats and the numbers are even uglier. But what about some of these games where he's had a chance in the fourth quarter to step up? Couldn't do it against Carolina. Couldn't do it against Denver. Couldn't do it last night. Instead, he fumbles a snap last night to blow the game. Ranks 30th in adjusted EPA per play. And I think this is another really telling stat. Is people want to blame Tanner Engstrand. Some. Small portion, but some. He has the 7th highest wide open rate as a quarterback, which is the percent of snaps where targeted wide receivers is considered wide open. 7th highest. So let's stop acting like, everybody's covered. No, guys are wide open, and you watch the games, they're wide open. You go back and rewatch the games, and you see some of the all-22 footage, they're wide open. It's gotten so noticeable where sometimes these broadcasts are actually showing guys running wide open. They did it last week with Arian Smith. He was running wide open. He just doesn't see him. And if he does, he's always a second too late because he's slow processing. He was 11-21 last night against New England when throwing past the line of scrimmage. That's only 50%. The Jets offense has had under 100 yards in the first half 6 times this season. That's 60% of their games, which I think is really, really telling. They have Fields this season has 501 first half passing yards. That's dead last in the NFL. That's 32nd. That's an average of 55.6 passing yards per half. You go through some of these games. He had 27 pass yards against Buffalo. Negative 10 net passing yards against Denver. 46 passing yards total against Carolina. 54 last week. Negative 5 last week in the first half, let me mind you. And 42 of those 54 came on a Breece Hall screen pass, meaning his other 5 passes went for 12 yards. And don't give me the nonsense of he only threw the ball 11 times. Please. I don't want to hear that either. So that's where things stand with Justin Fields. Nothing against him. But it's really time to fully realize everybody, he's the issue, and they need to make a change. And I'll leave you with one more stat. He's 16-37 in his career as a starter. I think that tells you a lot, probably more than any of the other numbers. At the end of the day, what matters most is, can you win games in this league? He is 16-37 as a starting quarterback. That is far, far from competent when you factor in the NFL level. So those are where things stand with the quarterback. And I'll be honest. You talk about the solutions here. Look, Tyrod Taylor is not the future. We all know that. Tyrod Taylor, in fact, is not much better than Justin Fields. But he is better than Fields. He's a better thrower of the football than Fields. And more importantly, Tyrod Taylor will take chances. It'll be a little bit more entertaining. He might throw interceptions. He might turn the ball over like he did against Carolina. But he's going to stretch the field, and Tanner Engstrand is not going to be scared to allow him to stretch the field because he's going to be willing to do it. And he can have some success doing it. But Tyrod Taylor should start moving forward. And let's be honest. You hope he could stay healthy, but in the event he gets banged up, which is very, very likely because he typically does, throw Brady Cook out there at the end of the season. Even if Tyrod Taylor is playing okay and he is healthy, why not throw Brady Cook out there the final 3 to 4 weeks? Exhaust all your options. See if you can find something. You're not going to find your future in Brady Cook, but can he maybe show you enough to say, hey, this guy can be a developmental backup for us moving forward? Maybe he shows you something, play him more in the preseason next year, and he can maybe be a backup, right? Can he do that? And I don't want to hear, oh, Brady Cook's not ready. If you're 2-12, what's the risk of throwing Brady Cook out there for 3 games? You have nothing to lose. Just give him game reps. Let's see what he looks like. He doesn't need to be perfectly ready. He doesn't need to be. This is probably his only opportunity he'll get. Why not throw him out there? Can't get any worse. Why not? So that's where things stand. 7 games to go in the New York Jets 2025 season. 2026 draft can't come here soon enough. And I think that's another important aspect to all this. You're trying to evaluate some of these receivers. You're trying to evaluate what you have in A.D. Mitchell, what you have in John Mechie, and these other pieces. It's tough to evaluate that when you have a quarterback that consistently leaves guys wide open and consistently misses guys. Tyrod can at least help you evaluate a little bit better what you have in some of these receivers. Because it is a train wreck, their wide receiver room. I'm not denying that. But can you find any solution moving forward for this receiver room? Mechie's shown you a couple good things. He had a good game last night. A.D. Mitchell had a couple drops. You want to continue to pepper him with targets, though. Can any of those guys be long-term pieces? Does Arian Smith show a pulse at all in these final 7 games? Couple other notes I wanted to get into as we move forward with this Friday program. Breece Hall, I think I wanted to read a couple numbers on him just to kind of show you where things stand with him, and one thing that Tanner Engstrand does need to do a better job of. And I've made that very clear on this podcast. I think there's a lot that I've liked from Tanner Engstrand. There's a lot of things that Tanner Engstrand I think is doing well with the hand he's been dealt. But there is obviously a lot of things that do need to be cleaned up. One of the things is utilizing him more as a wide receiver. I can't wrap my head around why every offensive coordinator, from Mike LaFleur to Nate Hackett to now Tanner Engstrand in Breece Hall's career, can't get him the football as much. Now, LaFleur actually, I shouldn't throw LaFleur out there, I guess, in 2022. But he was getting the football a lot as a receiver in 2022. His numbers through 7 games are actually very similar to his numbers through 10 games. And if you would have stretched that season across 17 games, his receiving numbers would have been off the charts. So would have his rushing numbers. He would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? We all know that. But I don't want to go through the whole revisionist history of the 2022 New York Jets. But still, throughout his 4 seasons with the Jets, I don't understand why it is so hard for them to get him targets, why they just don't target him enough. And it's not actually so much on the quarterback. It's more of a offensive coordinator thing to get him in more design routes, get him on the field more on 3rd down, in obvious passing downs where you can utilize him another weapon, especially when you don't have Garrett Wilson and you don't have a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. Breece Hall fills a massive void as a pass catcher when he's targeted, when he's put in the position to be. And over the last 5 games, he just hasn't been targeted enough. Something that needs to change moving forward. Week 6 against the Broncos, 13-11 loss, 0 targets. Week 7 against the Panthers, 13-6 loss, 3 targets. Week 8 against the Bengals, the crazy 39-38 win, 1 target. Week 10 against the Browns, last week, 27-20 win. Only target was the 42-yard screen pass for a touchdown. Last night, 2 targets. He's had 7 targets in his last 2 games. That's an average of about 1.4. So round that down, it's basically 1 target per game over the last 5. And in 10 games this year, he's only got 33 targets and 24 catches for 226 yards and a touchdown. He should be well over that mark. More now than ever because there is no Garrett Wilson. For the foreseeable future, he's on IR. Glenn said today that he should play, but he should come back, rather, at some point this season, but I'm not opposed to just shutting him down. You don't want to risk it. They've got to be careful with that. Garrett Wilson further injuring the knee that affects him next year for a 2-12, 2-13 Jets team would be awful, awful mismanagement on so many levels. But we'll see what happens with all of that. But more than ever, he should be utilized more now as a pass catcher because you have nobody else. You're very thin. So only 7 targets in the last 5 games is not acceptable. And Tanner Engstrand, who does deserve some credit because there is workings on this offense that you see the potential, if you actually get a competent quarterback to make throws, that this offense could work. But Breece Hall not being used enough as a pass catcher has been a problem for years now. And it continues to be a problem this year. And I just don't know why. Like, the Jets just don't realize this, that he's a stud as a receiver and teams just don't use him enough. So you got to use him more. And we'll see if they do. But look, Breece is still having a monster season. I would still extend him, especially if you're going to draft a rookie quarterback. Not if, when you draft that rookie quarterback, to have that weapon, that focal point, that all-around player, that complete player in Breece Hall is huge. And one other note I want to mention on Breece, stacked boxes. He's seen a lot of those. But another reason why I think he deserves a lot of credit for the numbers that he's put up so far this season, specifically the rushing numbers, on pace for over 1,200 yards, which would by far smash his previous season high of 994 that he posted in 2023. He's faced stacked boxes this season, 49.3%. That's near the top of the NFL. On those stacked boxes, he's averaging 4.1 yards per carry, and he's averaging 2.5 yards per carry before contact, which is inside the top 5. Another example of, despite everything around Breece Hall, bad quarterback play, predictable offense, he's finding ways. I've always said this, and I'll continue to say this with Breece, and I've been a huge Breece defender on this podcast. You guys know I was not on board buying into any of those trade rumors this offseason. I was totally on board. I'm totally on board, I should say, with them extending him. Because I continue to think he has not been used to the fullest of his potential. I still don't think he's hit his potential, and I think it's more so the outside factors as opposed to him. You give him a quarterback, and Engstrand utilizes him more as a pass catcher, he could take off to another level. Moving on, a couple other notes offensively, then we'll talk about a couple things defensively and close things out here. Some wide receiver snap shares that I thought I wanted to bring up because I thought it was interesting where things stand right now, week 12. John Mechie, or coming out of week 11, entering week 12. John Mechie last night at 47 snaps, so he was essentially the wide receiver 1 last night for the New York Jets. 82% of the team's offensive snaps. Isaiah Williams, wide receiver 2 essentially last night. 74% of the snaps, playing 42. Tyler Johnson played 30 snaps. That's 53%. A.D. Mitchell played 28 snaps. That's 49%. Arian Smith played 9 snaps. That's 16%. Allen Lazard did not see the field. Why is Allen Lazard still on this team? I'm not going to spend much time on Allen Lazard, but it's just really, 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 really just, it's hard to wrap your brain around what Allen Lazard, he doesn't do anything, but why he's still on this team and why a guy like Brandon Smith's not out there instead just to see if you have anything in him. Either way, though, A.D. Mitchell is essentially your wide receiver 4 last night, and I expect that to take a big jump. He now has extra time to prepare for Baltimore, more time to learn the playbook, more time to get comfortable in this offense over the next 10 days here or so until next Sunday. Last night, still kind of easing him into it, only out there in certain situations. I expect him and Mechie to lead the way the rest of the season, but more of my point to all of this was just to kind of add some humor to the situation, because I think we could use some humor as Jet fans. If you would have told any of us at the beginning of this season that the Jets wide receiver room in week 11 would consist of John Mechie, Isaiah Williams, Tyler Johnson, A.D. Mitchell, Arian Smith, and Allen Lazard would be the active receivers in a game this year for the Jets, I think you would have called anybody crazy, and you probably would have said that team's probably a 2 or 1 win team. And here we are, they're 2-8. It's just crazy what this wide receiver room has turned into this year. Garrett Wilson on IR. John Mechie is not on the roster to start the season. John Mechie via trade. A.D. Mitchell via trade. Isaiah Williams he picked up off the side of the street, then got rid of him, then brought him back. So it's an ugly room, and just a room that is just kind of a bunch of just random pieces thrown together that I don't think any Jet fan saw coming this year. But here we are. Those are your 6 wideouts right now. Mechie finished yesterday with 3 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown. A.D. Mitchell, rough day, right? 1 catch, 6 targets. The 1 catch was for 10 yards, 2 drops. That's just a 16.6% catch rate. That's low. So you hope that he's open. He's just now got to finish, and you got to get a quarterback and get him the ball, because there was those 2 drops, but there was also 2 misfires towards Mitchell. So that was kind of the story for him last night. Olu, Armand Membu, big nights for them. And continue to be big games every single week. And they continue to be in a season like this where there has been very, very little amount of positives. And in an off season that we're about to enter, where there is going to be a lot of holes that need to be filled on this team. I think you saw it fully on display last night. Some of it's injuries, but there's just players right now playing on this Jets team, let's be real, that are just not NFL caliber players. Like Tyler Barron playing in a primetime game in the NFL, it just can't happen. Jasir Taylor, what are we doing? Right? There is a significant lack of talent. And just look at the receiver room. Nothing. Isaiah Williams has been great special teams, but Isaiah Williams can't be your number 2 receiver if you want to win games in the NFL. All that being said, though, you can look at this offensive line and really feel confident about that. It helps you view the future differently. The Jets have legit offensive line, and they have their 2 bookend tackles. And that's huge for the rookie quarterback, because that oftentimes is phase 1 of ruining a rookie quarterback, is not having an offensive line. Us Jet fans are all too familiar with that. Not having an offensive line in front of a rookie quarterback is usually step 1 on the journey of destroying them. Not having a tackle that can protect their blind side is right there in the ways to destroy a rookie quarterback, to destroy the development of a quarterback. Olu and Armand Membu are the opposite of that. They're your cornerstone locked up, locked down, brick walls on the left and right side. They are your two bookend tackles of the future. And week in and week out, they continue to be some of the only positives on this team. You look at Olu, a little bit of a bumpy start this year. You look at his first 5 games, he had a 62 pass blocking grade and 18 pressures allowed. But he's gotten a lot better as the year goes on. The last 5 games here since week 6, he's been one of the better offensive tackles in the league. 80.2 pass block rates, 10th among all offensive tackles, and he's only allowed 9 pressures. Last night, had a 75.3 overall grade, which was 3rd on the team and 2nd on the offensive line, and he had a 79.5 pass blocking grade. You look at Armand Membu, he's been one of the best rookie tackles we've seen in NFL history. He is doing things legitimately at the highest level we've ever seen a rookie tackle do it at the NFL history. Seriously, that's not hyperbole. He's PFF 5th highest rated right tackle so far this season. That's every right tackle, not just rookies. And he's just one of 11 offensive tackles this year to have a 72 or higher pass block and run blocking grade. And last night, he led all Jets offensive linemen in overall grade and was 2nd on the team in overall grade with a 77.8 grade. And he had a 75.3 run blocking grade last night, which was also the best on the team, only allowing 1 pressure. So Olu and Membu are beacons of hope. They are your bookend tackles, and I think what's so great about both of them is they're so young. Olu in year 2, and really Olu, it's kind of an extension of his rookie year because he only played late in the year last year at left tackle, right? You remember, you go back to last season, Olu played right tackle and right guard before he played left tackle, right? So he only played, I believe it was about 6 starts at left tackle once Tyron Smith went down and it was down the stretch, and he showed a lot of good things, but that's such a limited amount of playing time at that position. This is more of an extension of his rookie year, and he continues to only get better. Armand Membu is only 21 years old. 21 years old, and he's playing at this high of a level. Still so young. Olu only 22. He'll be 23 by season's end. A 23-year-old and a 21-year-old playing at this level, that's huge. Huge. Not something the Jets have had in a very, very long time. Defensively, continues to be poor. You look at the amount of man the Jets run. This is the problem with Steve Wilks, right? The amount of man coverage that the New York Jets run. And they switch it up from time to time to zone, but way too predictable. Way too predictable. Not enough adjusting, not enough mixing between man and zone, specifically on 3rd downs, which is why they've been getting cooked on 3rd and longs all year long. I'm being serious. This has been one of the most frustrating defenses to watch on 3rd down. And maybe it's because last year was bad, but maybe it's because of the 2 really good years we had in 22 and 23 where they were near the top of the league, right? Specifically 2023. But this is a excruciating, painful defense to watch on 3rd down. It is so infuriating, the amount of 3rd and longs that they give up. And it's directly on the plate of Steve Wilks. Look, I get the injuries and how they're banged up in the secondary, and they're not better in the secondary without Sauce Gardner. I'm not saying it's a bad trade, but to all the people out there that were just trashing on Sauce Gardner, he's a good corner, and you do notice his absence. Let's all be real here for a second. The reason you got 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner is because he's a good football player. Without him, you're worse, and they've been worse. A.Z. Thomas not being out there, hurt. Jarvis Brownlee playing the outside instead of the nickel, hurts. So I get all that. But the linebackers are lost. Sherwood specifically is lost in coverage. The middle of the field is wide open. Wide open. I don't know how consistently week in and week out the middle of the field is always open. Always open. And it falls on the plate of Steve Wilks because there's no adjustments. It's the same thing. The same amount of man coverage, same amount of zone coverage, not enough switching up, not enough to keep the quarterback guessing, not enough disguises. Good quarterbacks look at this defense and lick their chops. I said it on the postgame pod. They lick their chops. The Jets play man 54.5% of the time on third down. Highest rate of man all year, 45.1. They don't mix it up enough between man and zone. And frankly, they're not very good in either. So whether you're going to switch it up and play a little bit less man, a little bit more zone, I think they're going to stink either way. But the fact of the matter is Steve Wilks is relying too much on just his scheme and what he does, and he's not adjusting to what he's seen. He needs to be fired. He needs to be fired. You cannot, and let's be real, Glenn's going to be back. We all know that. But Aaron Glenn cannot just come back next season and run it back with this same staff, especially with the way this season goes. They go 3-14. You've got to make a change. Somebody's got to take the fall for this. And it's not even just the scapegoat. He's just not any good. Steve Wilks just isn't any good. And I look at this situation. I would say, Glenn, so far, you've hit on your two of your three coordinators, Engstrand and Banjo, right? There's a lot to like from Banjo. I combined Banjo and Engstrand's name. There's a lot to like from Chris Banjo, a lot to like. And there's good signs from Tanner Engstrand. Steve Wilks, there's nothing. And there's a reason, if we're all being honest, that he was out of the league. There's a reason that he was probably a one and done in San Francisco as a DC. I look at this Aaron Glenn scenario with Steve Wilks, very similar to Dan Campbell. And I hope that Aaron Glenn takes a page out of Dan Campbell's book in terms of year one, Dan Campbell, Anthony Lynn was his offensive coordinator. He fired him. After year one, he made a change at offensive coordinator. A little bit different because it's the DC, but Aaron Glenn after year one's got to realize, okay, I made a mistake with the defensive coordinator. It was the right thought, wrong person to bring in a veteran former coach, right? That was the right thought. It was just the wrong person. You have to move on from Steve Wilks. He cannot be here moving forward. Dan Campbell fired Anthony Lynn after year one. Aaron Glenn can fire Steve Wilks and should fire Steve Wilks after this season. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. was awful again last night. 3 penalties, 6 receptions, 80 yards, back-to-back bad games, penalties, bad coverage. He's been awful. So he's got some ground to make up, right? I think a lot of Jet fans, we all kind of, I don't want to say fell in love with him, but we all looked at him and, you know, felt pretty good about the things that he showed in the Denver game, in the Carolina game, in the Bengals game. So 3 good games, but now you look and it's been 6 games total played. It's been 3 good games and really 2 bad games. So he's got to get back on track. And some of it you maybe attribute to he's playing the outside and not nickel, but either way, the penalties are inexcusable. The busts in coverage are inexcusable. He's been awful. Should have been benched last night. Jamie and Sherwood, 5 catches, 76 yards allowed yesterday. So was heading in the right direction, is now kind of taking a step back last night. I still don't get, for a guy that played safety, you would think he would be so much better in coverage, but he's just not. And I think some of it's he's overwhelmed. I really do. He's the Mike linebacker. He's the captain of that defense. He's the play caller of that defense. I do think he's a little overwhelmed. And Brownlee kind of hinted to that last night about guys not being in the right spots. That's Sherwood's job, right? Wilks calls the plays, but then it's Sherwood's job to get guys in the right position. There is some blame to fall on his plate too. Brandon Stevens also had a bad night. Took a step back. Playing really well going into last night. Was turning into a nice turnaround story for the Jets this season. But he had the horrible penalty on third down when the Jets got off the field. Legal contact. And then he got beat badly by Matt Collins. He put him into a blender. So rough night for Brandon Stevens. Rough night for the secondary as a whole. And team as a whole on third down. The amount of third down passing conversions that they allow is just mind-numbing. It makes you want to pull your hair out. Really. So that'll do it. Another episode in the books. Appreciate you all as always. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts on another New York Jets loss, your biggest takeaways from this loss, and any other thoughts you've got down below. Enjoy your weekend. Couple days off from Jets football. We get a little extra break here from the losing before they take on the Baltimore Ravens next Sunday in Baltimore. Another very challenging matchup as we hit the home stretch here. 7 games to go. Appreciate you all. A lot more content coming your way between now and then, so stay tuned. And until next time, Jets, Jets, Jets.